Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local.
No segue. We're moving right into SGE.
Moving on. SGE.
So I am probably the last SEO in the world to get access to
Andrew
SGE.
Shotland.
Andrew Shotland.
Okay.
You and
So
he are tied.
I was taking it personally for quite a while, but I did get access in between our most recent Near Memo and today's Near Memo to SGE finally. So I've had it enabled since I think Monday morning of this week. So like 4 or 5 days. And I've been really, really surprised. And Cyrus Shepard pointed this out as well earlier this week, which Greg covered in the newsletter. I've just been shocked at like the lack of any noticeable change in my search results. Like the thing is never appearing for me, even as a banner, like, you know, a manual generate button. It just, Google is never showing SGE results. And when it does, it's like totally shocking. Like, I don't even remember what I was looking at yesterday. It was, might even been restaurants near me. It was showing an AI result, which I was just like, what? This is not something I need AI for. This is where Google Maps is exactly what I'm looking for. Like the times when Google decides to show this and doesn't, it don't make sense to me. And I'm just shocked at the sort of, given that this is only an opt-in program and you have to sign all of these disclaimers just to get in, that, you know, you understand it's a beta and blah, blah, blah. Like, they're really not pushing this at all, which to me, like my first takeaway is, as Greg, you've highlighted a number of times, like particularly since the advent of ChatGPT, Google has really been on the defense. And so they've had to do all of these like Wall Street facing announcements. And in this case, potentially a Wall Street facing product release. Like, okay, we do have this capability, but they're not super confident in the quality of results or even a testing mechanism, it seems to me, for when and how they should be displaying these things. So that's my initial takeaway. I candidly, like, I've been doing a lot of searches this week in the medical category, which is, I have 2 enterprise healthcare clients. So there could be some, you know, your money or your life sort of hesitancy on the part of Google to display these results in those categories. But even, you know, plenty of other searches that I've been doing just for, you know, things around Portland or things that have been in the news, like Messi going to Inter Miami. Like none of those things are showing SGE results, which, you know, just again speaks to maybe the caution that Google is displaying and rolling this out. So,
or maybe you're in some really low.
Yeah, maybe it was a placebo. Like you're in and you're not really in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you know, just to say something that I said before we started recording, when Cyrus put out that tweet, I looked for some of the same queries that he was talking about, and I did find some SGE results in mine. Now, I haven't been doing the same queries over time to be able to track how they're changing it, but I really feel like this is an incredibly dynamic environment, and so they may have. I mean, they may have groups of testers that they're showing different kinds of results to. Undoubtedly, they do, and it may change over time. I initially expected very few YMYL generative AI results, and I saw a whole bunch of them, strangely. And then the next day, in one case, it was gone. There was no result for me in that particular case, which, you know, Mike has hypothesized might be the servers, load on the servers, but who knows? The thing that I'm struck by, so I you know, a lot of people are sort of, I think Lily Ray did a poll where people were, you know, SEOs were saying this is really like a meh kind of thing. I like it visually. I mean, I'm surprised by my own reaction to it. I like the results. But then my rational mind says, are these helpful at all? Are these any different than what you're getting in the main results? And I come down on no. You know, it's not that helpful right now. And it struck me, to your point earlier, David, is that Google is performing. This is a performance on some level. They're not really that sincere about transforming search or building the next generation search experience. This is a performance for Wall Street. And they have, you know, it's like, we, as you say, we can do this. Look how cool it is. And we've got this capability. And what's interesting to observe about my own behavior is that, even though it was sort of painful to fire up the Edge browser and go to Bing, I was doing that occasionally, but I'm not doing that now.
Mm-hmm.
I have stopped going to Bing because the novelty of that is over. I mean, I'll go back to Bing and check it out and whatever, just see how that's changing. But I think this serves multiple purposes: to reassure its audience that it's got these capabilities, reassure Wall Street. It's kind of, I think I called it on Twitter, potentially like a giant head fake by Google. It doesn't seem like a sincere product.
Meanwhile, they have rolled out this like AI writing assistant in Docs and Gmail and whatever, right? Which we've said we think is the real strong use case for this.
Right. So Google is very sincere about AI on the ad side. I mean, and in other contexts, that's very real for them. But the search experience, not so much, it seems to me. And I tried. I'm opted in, I guess, to all their tests or whatever. So I have it in Google Workspace on my personal account. And, I took some very, I wanted to try out the email writing capability. So I took some very sort of a one sentence description or prompt. And I said, write an email about this. And it gave me something really stiff, really just like bloated and 3 paragraphs. And it was just not.
I looked at your job history and knew you'd been in corporate America, Greg, and figured that's what you wanted.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think anyway, we'll see how it all evolves. But
I would just say I want to highlight especially for new listeners, like Greg has been hungry for any change in the Google SERP. He hates the Google SERP. He thinks it's bloated. And
I don't hate it. I don't hate.
SGE hasn't even converted the most ardent
No, I'm hungry. I am hungry
SERP.
I am hungry for a simplification of the search results. I don't hate the Google SERP. I mean, interestingly, in the travel context, where I was wrote this sort of long, rambling article about like what does it look like and how what are the results. One of the use cases was travel, and visually the SGE result sort of overwhelms everything else on the page. Not only does it push it down, it just aesthetically is dominant. But in this travel context, because you've got all the filters and because you've got other features, like they had, badges that were very highlighted, the local, whatever it's called, the travel pack, the travel result was stronger than the SGE result above it, which I thought was really interesting versus other categories, like where the ordinary pack is there. Mm-hmm. And, I sort of cynically surmised that was because Google's making money off of that pack, basically. But who knows? I mean, I'm hopeful that something will emerge, and I think it has to, that is a simpler alternative to the Google SERP in many cases. Sometimes the Google SERP is a good outcome, but a lot of times it's just not, and it forces you to do a whole bunch of additional work to get to good information. In a B2B context, there's just so much garbage now in the SERP. It's just all people writing these listicles and self-serving posts for ranking purposes.
Damn SEOs.
Well, no, I'm not going to criticize the industry, but I mean, this is what Google has wrought with its its own peekaboo
substandard algorithm, you might say.
Well, whatever. I mean, they keep harping on but write content for humans and not for search engines and all of that. They're saying all the right things, but it's just, I mean, there's another discussion about how local search has just become a complete shit show, basically, in terms of, finding something simple, finding like 3 names that you can then get estimates from or to contact or whatever, just in a sort of home services context, is just, there's just so much work involved now. And that part of that is reading reviews and parsing the veracity of the reviews and, blah, blah, blah. It
was probably 15 years ago where I remember you saying that spam in Google Maps was validation of the economic value of it.
Are you sure that wasn't your own?
No, that was you. I'm sure.
Really?
Yeah, it struck me at the time. And it is true. It is economic validation, and that's what the dynamic that Google has created. They created a successful product, but never put in place enough sort of guardrails to keep people from abusing it and continue on that vein.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.